In a 10-year period, all of us will face some type of major financial crisis. Having an emergency fund in place is a financial safety net that turns the financial crisis into an inconvenience. So the question is asked, how do I start an emergency fund? I'm going to talk with you today about 5 things you can do to start an emergency fund. But before I do, please click the like button and subscribe, and also leave a comment in the comment section below. So here are the 5 things you can do to set up and start an emergency fund. Number 1, set a goal. The goal is to have at least 3 to 6 months of your expenses set aside in an emergency fund. 3 to 6 months of expenses need to be set aside in an emergency fund. Now, as far as how much or how to weigh, either 3 months or 6 months, depends on your circumstances. If you are married, for instance, and have steady income coming in, you may want to lean more toward the 3 months side. However, if you're single or maybe your salary is based on commissions, then you may want to lean on the 6 month side. But again, having 3 to 6 months of your expenses set aside in an emergency fund is a goal that you need to have. Now, if you are starting an emergency fund, then I recommend starting with $1,000. $1,000 in an emergency fund is a good way to start off an emergency fund as far as having a goal. If your annual income is $25,000 or less, then I would recommend you having a $500 emergency fund set up. So again, setting a goal, number 1, is the way you can start an emergency fund. Number 2, set up a savings account. You would do that by, of course, setting it up at a bank. And this savings account needs to be separate from a checking account. So you don't want to have your emergency fund in the same account that your checking account is. You want to have it separate in a separate account, which is a savings account that you can set up and make sure and not to fall into the temptation of spending it. So that's why you want to set it up in a separate account, because you don't want to have the temptation of spending it, and you want to make sure it's separate, that way you can't get to it unless there is an emergency. So again, setting it up in an emergency fund account, this savings account separate from your checking account, is the second thing you need to do. And let me also add that even though brick and mortar banks are fine, but I recommend going online and setting up a high yield savings account. A high yield savings account. Well, why do you say a high yield savings account? Well, that's because it gives you a better interest rate where your money can gain interest while it's in the bank. Matter of fact, the high yield savings accounts are averaging between 4 to 5% at the moment. So again, a high yield savings account online is one of the best ways you can set aside your money in an emergency fund and also have it grow interest while it's doing so. Now, you can do the brick and mortar, but that's only giving you less than 1% as far as interest. But again, 4 to 5% in a high yield savings account, and you can actually start these accounts off or set them up with 0 minimum balance. And when you do, please also look for those that have no fees attached. So number 2, how do I start as an emergency fund? By setting up a savings account. Number 3, you want to automate your savings. Set up an automatic transfer from your checking account that goes automatically into your savings account. That way you have an effortless stream of income that you're contributing into your emergency fund without even thinking about it. So again, setting up an automatic transfer is the third thing that you would need to do in setting up your emergency fund, so that your money is automatically being transferred from your checking to your savings account. That way you don't have to worry about it. You have a consistent stream of savings that's happening, and you are doing it without even thinking about it, as I said earlier. Number 4, the fourth way to set up or to start an emergency fund is by, of course, identifying ways you can save. And this is where creating a budget would be very helpful. And what a budget is simply a cash plan for your money. It's your income coming in minus your expenses going out, equaling zero, which is a zero-based budget. And you want to do this each month before the month begins. But basically, it's you telling your dollars where to go instead of wondering where it went. That's what a budget is. But the way that you identify ways to save is by, again, reviewing your income and your expenses to see where you can cut back. And this might look like reducing costs that for dining out, or cutting expenses as far as dining out, cutting expenses as far as entertainment, maybe cutting back on going out to the movies or going to the restaurants for a while, and letting that extra income be distributed toward your emergency fund. This frees up the money so that you can have money to build that up to that goal of $1,000, or maybe you're at the point that you want to get to the 3 to 6 months. But again, identifying ways you can save. You can save maybe by cutting some of the streaming services temporarily. Just there's various ways you can save. So again, number 4, identify ways you can save. Number 5, use extra income wisely. When you get extra income from either gifts or maybe bonuses or tax refunds, consider putting those in an emergency fund. If not all of it, at least some of it into the emergency fund. So extra income coming in, you surprised by somebody giving you some income you were not expecting, let that go into your emergency fund. It builds up your emergency fund faster. And as a bonus, I told you 5, but I'll give this one last idea to you, and that is check your balance on a regular basis. Check your balance on a regular basis to see how close you are to reaching your goal. I would recommend also, be creative. Draw a thermometer that you can put on your refrigerator or maybe put on your wall, and to track your progress as you're going or moving towards your goal with the emergency fund. And it makes it very fun, and also you're motivating yourself in the process. So again, the steps to create an emergency fund are: number 1, set a goal. Number 2, open up that savings account. Number 3, automate your savings. Number 4, you identify ways you can save. And number 5, use extra income wisely. And as a bonus, check your account regularly and track it. However you want to do it, you can. If you're a family, you may want to have the children come along and help you out with the tracking process and make it a family event. And maybe at each level of success or each milestone, have an ice cream party or something, something to celebrate the moment. So again, these are the ways to start an emergency fund. An emergency fund, again, turns the financial crisis more into an inconvenience. If you, again, like this video, please click the like button, subscribe, and share with those that you know will be helpful. This will be helpful too. Also, leave a comment in the comment section. Maybe you have some other ideas or ways that you can think of that you can identify ways to cut your expenses or to save your money so that you can save in an emergency fund, or to and use extra income wisely. What are some other ways that you can think of? Other ways, maybe getting a side gig, or starting a side hustle. Just various ways you can implement to start this emergency fund. I will, in the notes below, provide you with a link for a free consultation if you want to talk further about how that looks for you, if you need coaching to go forward in knowing how to set up an emergency fund. Contact me. Let's talk. Also, there's some online courses for budgeting, one for getting rid of debt that you'll find in the links below in the description. Invest in yourself. Invest in yourself and start that process of going from striving to thriving with your money.